So the Philadelphia game is the moment everyone's been saying, aha, it's been the schedule all along.
You sound like you have extra joy in your voice.
I don't.
I've been on a heater, and you've been pumping your Patriots, and all of a sudden, I'm not looking so good. I feel personally attacked, but that's fine.
But that is one way to look at it.
No, listen, there was some exposure there. I was shocked that the defense performed so poorly against the run, but there are some caveats here. One, you had a desperate team that needed to win badly in Philadelphia. If they lose that game, they might be out of the NFC East race, and that NFC East is a nightmare division. It's terrible. There's no good. On top of that, you have a really good coach in Doug Peterson who knows what he's doing, and finally, Matt Milano, who we talked about last week, the linebacker coming back from injury, you needed him to have a big game, and it became apparent early that maybe he wasn't the player that he was healthy, like he's still dealing with that hamstring injury. It's concerning. It's not overly concerning. You get a chance to correct yourself against Washington this week. Give me 3 more games, then I'll make my decision.
It's like, and it's in all sports. It's like, when you're playing these teams and the schedule. I mean, how much do you dive into that, or you just kind of let it ride?
Well, at the end of the year, they don't ask how, they ask how many. We obviously know that, and that's going to get you in there out of the playoffs. But you said it was a must-win for Philly. I think it was a must-win for Buffalo to prove that they were bona fide. But I think that's what the fans' contention is. This was a must-win to prove that we're a bona fide team, and I think the defense let them down.
No, but on the grand scheme of things, I don't disagree with the defense let them down. But in the grand scheme of things, let's say you went out and beat Philly. Let's say they went out and beat Philly. You beat a 3-5 team. They wouldn't have gotten him any national respect. They were in a no-win situation. You win that game, you beat a team that's under 500. You haven't beat a team that's over 500 all season.
Which was on a neutral field, though, favored to win.
Yes, exactly. I mean, listen, Philadelphia has an unbelievable amount of talent. They were talking all week about, you got the practice squad players in their defense. Their quarterback, before that game, Carson Wentz, who's being blamed for this terrible season, had thrown 13 touchdown passes versus 4 interceptions. Their leading wide receiver was a tight end despite that statistic. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. Oh, and you still have a second-round pick who was a star behind Saquon Barkley at Penn State who breaks off a 65-yard run. I'm not as concerned as everybody else is right now.
So now we get a chance to, make it better against another team that's really struggling. What do you need to see this week when the Bills play the Redskins?
Why do you see, again, you're talking about injuries. They went through the whole list of questionables beforehand, and you knew, and Milano was one of them. Mm-hmm. And you could tell that these injuries were hurting, and they've got to get their guys healthy, and they've got to tighten that defense back up, because they're talking about all week long, great defense, and I just think that everybody's going to learn from that, and everybody's going to just start running the ball against them and keep them on the field.
Yeah, I mean, you do, this week is your opportunity to try what you're going to try to make it better, right? Because you have some wiggle room here, right? Things can go bad and you have an opportunity to beat the Redskins anyway. But yeah, just be consistent this week. Give me 4 quarters. I don't need Josh Allen to throw for 400 yards. I don't need the defense to pitch a shutout. Play a consistently good 4-quarter game for the first time this season. I'm okay.
How concerned are you that Allen is still turning the ball over on a fairly regular basis?
Okay, I mean, yes, hold on to the ball for God's sakes, but you can't compare him to what you want him to be. You compare him to what he was when he first showed up in the league, and you cannot say that he hasn't been growing, right? I mean, the knock on him the whole time was it's going to take him a little while to be an NFL quarterback. I don't know if he's that franchise quarterback, but I have seen growth, and it's in the right direction, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you've coached, and I know not football so much, but
Ever.
To the fans.
So much.
Well, that's so much qualifies. So a fan watches this happen and says, why doesn't he just stop doing that? It's not that simple, is it?
I came to a realization watching the game the other day, and I like you, I have seen growth in him. I've seen things that I think this guy could be a franchise quarterback, and then I was snapped back to reality. He's 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's just a young guy.
Oh, well, this ain't
He's
junior.
got to learn.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought you were going to tell me 23 years old.
He's only 23.
Well, 23 years old is older now than it used to be, though. I mean, they're expecting a lot more out of 23-year-olds than they did 10 years ago.
Yes, they are, and I agree with 100%, but he has a lot. If you're going to take him and you're going to compare him to an Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, let's look at the age difference here and the experience they had, and look also who they may have sat behind before when they did that. Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Favre for how many years before he stepped out and took his first main snap as a regular. He didn't have that luxury of doing that. The best thing that ever happened to me being drafted to Buffalo was Freddie Stanfield. Sitting on the bench beside Freddie Stanfield. Hey, kid, see this, see that, watch this, do that. I was 19 years old, and by the time we hit playoff time, I was tired, and I didn't play as a regular. I was still on the 4th line at the time. But the experience that Freddie Stanfield and Ronnie Schock and these guys brought to me lived on, and that's what I try to pass on to others. But again, he didn't have that. Get in there, kid, and do it.
Thanks, Nate Peterman.
Love Freddie Stanfield.